My name is Jonathan. I've struggled with cocaine and alcohol addiction for well into 3 decades. Although I grew up in a Christian home and attended a Christian grade school, I started smoking marijuana just before entering high school. 1 year later, I tried my first hit of acid. Ironically, it was at church. Crystal meth, MDMA, ecstasy, PCP, cocaine, ayahuasca, you name it, they all followed pretty shortly after that. All from that love of the first hit of acid I did at church. Here I am, nervous. During high school, I lost a number of close friends, over half a dozen actually, and well over a dozen since. One of my best friends killed himself while coming down off crystal meth, and that crushed me, and ultimately led to me drowning my emotions with copious amounts of narcotics for years, possibly even decades afterwards. I was with him up until an hour before he took his life, and had I not forgotten my pager at his house, I would have heard his 9 messages pleading with me to come to his rescue as he wanted to kill himself. I didn't hear those messages for about 2 weeks after that, after his funeral, and that further drove the nails into my coffin of guilt, emotional agony, and addiction. Not long after that, my parents separated, and I was kicked out and permanently banned from the secondary school board in Durham Region for violence. My addictions were fueled by the after-hours party scene. I DJ'd for 15 years in North America. I've owned and operated nightclubs, raves, and event production companies for over a decade. And back in the early rave scene days, DJs and club owners were kind of considered rock stars, so we lived like it, partied like it, for over a decade. Eventually, I ended up building grow ops and meth labs for one of my uncles for an organized crime ring. We were disguising our illegal activities as a construction front to our family and friends. Even the girlfriend I lived with thought I was building houses. That wasn't good. Eventually, I ended up in 2006, I was involved in a crystal meth super lab explosion in Pickering, Ontario. After boosting my uncle from the hospital's intensive care unit, we went into hiding for fear of getting arrested. We were both suffering from severe lung damage, but couldn't contact doctors for fear of arrest. That fire left me with heavy metal poisoning, severe liver damage, H. pylori in my esophagus. It still may well lead to cancer, and it's possibly the source of my fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and chronic pain syndrome, all of which I'm still dealing with this today, over a decade later. And I'm the fortunate one. My uncle and partner in the operation died of cancer due to exposure to the fire. I was pulled out in time, hopefully. Only time will tell. So once again, another death of a close friend and a family member lingered over me, and I bared the guilt and responsibility of it. And once again, I dug deeper into the substance abuse. This time with a death wish, not wanting to see the age of 40. I started using and selling to an extreme, DJing again, and partying harder than ever. 2 years later, I was reacquainted with my childhood girlfriend, and we had briefly dated 15 years earlier in grade school at a Christian school in Pickering, but hadn't seen each other in well over a decade. She had a 9-year-old daughter, and I proposed within 2 months of dating. We were married 3 years later, and all seemed to be going well. He's still with me and over there, so that's a good thing.